here's the cat. But the video is not about the cat. This video is about the Grand Prix because it is back, and today it's actually just getting an oil change. But I figured while I had it, I'd answer some of the questions that I've been getting on some of the older Grand Prix videos. One of which includes the whole issue that I had years ago with the transmission doing its little fluttery thing, and as I was driving it today, I noticed it actually returned. So while it's here again, we're gonna reset the computer again also, and I'll show you guys simply on how to do that. But other than that, the Grand Prix really hasn't changed much. It's been out of my hands for just about a year now. My brother Tyler, who some of you may all know from his vlog channel, even though he hasn't been posting recently. But yeah, not a whole lot's changed. He hasn't had to do much to it. The coil spring back here a couple months ago did break. So both that side and the other side, the coil springs were replaced. The black paint, the finish is starting to come off of the windowsill now. It started doing that like this when I had it, but as you can see, it's clearly starting to get worse. So he's actually going to, at some point, we were talking about kind of masking off the body and painting that over. She needs a bath, but I don't have time to do the bath today. Not a whole lot's really changed. She's still the same. I did see this today. This nice ding. I don't know how well you can. There it is. Yeah. So all know that my brother works at a baseball field for the local baseball team here in the area, and a baseball went out of the park and right there. So kind of scuffed it up also, probably where the stitching was, but like I said, today she's here for the oil change. She has 142,416 miles on it now. It's actually got a low oil warning, I think. Yeah, so low oil level. I've only had that happen to me once. That was many years ago, but I think it was because of the I don't know if I didn't put enough in when I changed it the one time, or if anything's leaking. But she's got 34% oil life remaining, probably a little overdue because I use conventional oil in this car. I've had conventional oil in this car since I've bought the car, but I always changed my oil at 3,000 miles with this. So the oil life monitor, I think, is set up not for conventional oil. So it's, in my opinion, probably gone on a little too long. So I'm going to move it up the driveway. There's good. And we got a peek under the hood. A little dirty. I always used to clean it up. Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, it's not looking too terrible. It looks like it needs to be changed. So, alright. Get it up off the ground and I'm going to change it. Now first, like I said, with the whole transmission flutter thing, for years I always thought it was probably a solenoid in the transmission, somewhere along there inside the transmission, and that's, it costs money. But discovering that you just unhook the battery for a little bit and kind of turn anything on in the car, turn every switch over, headlights, radio, air conditioning, whatever. Try to drain all the power out of the car, and then that way, you know, there's no power left, and it kind of resets the computer. So it actually worked for a very long time doing it like that. So that's what I'm gonna do, because I noticed it was coming back on when I was driving it up here. So we're going to simply disconnect the negative battery terminal, and we're gonna leave it disconnected. You can unhook the positive one too if you want, but that's all we're gonna do. So once those are disconnected, I'm just gonna change the oil and you know, let it sit for a little bit, and then we will start it back up once the battery is hooked over and see how it goes. It is normal for the car to have a really weird shifting sequence when you first hook the battery back up. That's normal. It's just the computer relearning all of the shift sequences basically, and I think that's why it actually works properly once the battery is rehooked back up. So at least temporarily. The actual solution will be to either replace the solenoid or replace the whole transmission, of which neither I'm sure we're going to do at this time. So let's unhook the battery. The hard part is trying to get the harness to stay out of the way of the terminal, so I laid it over top of the wiring harness here. So, and then like I said, I want to go in real quick. Cut on headlights, hazards, whatever, anything you can to, you know, that usually requires power. You can even take the key. And that's pretty much it, so we'll let it sit. Let's get under the car now. By the way, if you've ever done an oil change on a Grand Prix, I must say this is one of the easiest oil changes that you can do on a car. I am seeing some leakage of something under here now. Ooh. I don't know if that's oil or maybe is that transmission? Maybe it's the transmission pan leaking. Ooh, yep. That looks like it might be the transmission gasket. It's all along the side, so maybe that could be a reasoning why it did not look like that when I had it. I don't see any oil leaking from under the engine anyway. There's the oil plug, which, by the way, if you have a really small socket, you could probably take the bolt off with that, but I don't have a small socket, so I have to use a pair of an adjustable wrench. But anyway, that's where the oil plug is, and the oil filter is actually right there, right beside the front right tire. So unlike most cars where it might be hard to get to the filter, the Grand Prix actually has one of the easiest filter spots ever. So, alright, let's get started. Alright. Does look a little watery. Yep, thinning out now. I think my paper towels are blowing away. The wind's gonna start carrying that too. Oh yeah, there's my paper towels. Oh, I hate these things. They're everywhere, as you can see. The transmission fluid does not look like it's red at all. So it never had a fluid filter or fluid filter change. It probably should have a while ago, a long time ago actually, and it gets to the point where they, like my mechanic said, you know, don't even bother with it, because if there's particles in the transmission that have already kind of broken loose and are floating around in there, could actually become the transmission's friend. So putting new fluid in it might at that point make things worse, so therefore it's never had a change. Now it was low at one point when I first started having weird issues with the shifting, and I added some like Transex to it a while ago with a couple of quarts of new fluid. So I mean it's had new fluid in there, but the old fluid still remains, and that was 3 years ago, over 3 years ago. So, but definitely looked like the pan is now leaking at some point. Started leaking somewhere down the line. Yeah. Some of this could be from the power steering leak that I had years ago too. I don't know if that would still be there, but it was leaking right here at this boot, and that was within the first year that I've owned the car. So I had the whole rack replaced. So I guess it was a common issue. You can't really fix it from that point, from what I was told. So this tie rod, outer tie rod, was replaced 3 years ago, and that one probably has yet to be replaced, because I never changed that one, but I did this one along with the hub. The hub and the tie rod both need to be replaced on this wheel back in 2013. The brakes are still newer. I did those, I had them done almost 2 years ago. They still have some shine to them. So looks like we're done with draining the oil already. Okay, so the oil plug is now back in place. You don't ever want to over tighten the overplug. A lot of people really try to tighten it up, like you just gotta hand tighten that thing, because sometimes, you know, like I don't know what they do at oil change places, if they use like an impact wrench or what, but man, they go to tighten that, they really tighten it, and then when you're going to try to do it yourself and you don't have the proper tool, you have a hard time struggling. So I just hand tighten it. Alright, now it's time for the filter. Sometimes it's easier if you actually turn the wheel, but I didn't do that this time. So, and the camera's got the other hand, so let me change hands. Same thing with the oil filter. You don't want to over tighten this either. Just hand tighten it. There we go. And this always makes a mess here. It's very hot too, so. So at least that part of the chassis is always getting lubricated. Whew, it's hot out here. It's like 90 some degrees. Oh, there goes my rag. It's blowing to the other end of the car. Okay, once you get the new filter out, what I like to do is put my finger into like the new oil and then wipe around the ring, so you kind of grease that up. And then around the inside threads also. That's what I do. Because if this doesn't get lubricated up here, there's a chance that it could stick from the heat. So when you try to take it off, the following time that you got to change it, that gasket might not come off with the filter like it did on that one. Like I said, in my opinion, of all the cars that I've done oil changes on, and I'm sure that there are other mechanics who can agree with me, the 3800 on this application has definitely got a nice place for the filter. I know some of them have them behind the oil crankcase. Some of the 3800s, like on the Buick LeSabre, and I think the Bonneville might have it behind it, so it's kind of strange that they didn't put them all here. I think even the Series 2 3800s had them here. And like I said, you don't want to over tighten this with any tool. You just want to get it nice and snug. It's not going to go anywhere. Well, I'm sure sometimes it has, but if you do it right like this, it still won't go anywhere. Okay, let's put the oil in. 5W30 is the recommended oil for the 3800. Uh, 4.5 quarts I think is what is required for this engine here, but I just go off of whatever the dipstick says. I usually end up putting all 5 in, because you gotta figure it's making its way to the oil filter and stuff. Look at that nice clean oil. That's some good stuff. Nice clean oil. Love it. So there's about 1.5 quarts left. A little under 1 quart. About 1/2 quart, so about 4.5 quarts in there. I'll give it a second to kind of settle into there, and then we'll check the dipstick. Okay, I wiped it off already, so, and from the looks of that, it looks like it's full. That was kind of difficult to tell, but so we'll take it out. Like I said, we'll hook the battery back up, and we'll drive it around the block a few times, see how the shifting does. And then when I come back and shower and clean up, then I'll check it one more time, because then by then the oil would have been circulated, so that means it would have gotten into the oil filter by now, the oil pump and all that. So when I'm doing that, it'll sit here and I'll check it before I take it back to them, and if it needs topped off again, we'll top it off. But other than that, that's the oil change on a Grand Prix with the 3800. So let's hook the battery back up. Okay, battery's back on. Man, it's hot. Okay. First thing I'm going to do is reset the oil life monitor. Okay, so that's all it takes to do that. Gonna have to reset the date and everything. 100% oil life. Okay, I'll start it up. It's normal for it to have a longer startup, by the way, when you hook the battery back up. So if it does it, that's normal. Okay, we got oil pressure, so that's good. Should have bought washer fluid too, but I did not. Ah, she sounds very smooth. Sounds good to me. We are going to need a belt. There are definitely some grooves going into the belt now. Still, that could be the original belt too, because I never replaced it, so that could be the factory belt. 142,000 miles later this time. Oh, and you can also tell when you reset the battery, if you have a fault with the tire pressure system, it resets that too, so it will not detect that there's a problem with the tire pressure system for a couple hours. Alright, we'll take it around the block a little bit. It really does shift a lot smoother once it's hooked back up. Okay, so it's down to where it needs to be. So I'll wait a second here to nope. Give it a little bit of that acceleration, it shifted just fine. Alright, I think that's it. I think it should be good to go. I'm going to go home and clean up. See how it does on the drive back to him. So, but anyway, this was the video on revisiting the Grand Prix. So we gave it an oil change. We reset the computer again, and like I said, there really hasn't been any other serious issues that have come up. I might have to tell him to get a belt soon. We're gonna have to try and get that transmission gasket looked at, and I think that was it. So not much has changed. Still a good running car. Like I said we are at the 142,418 miles now. I bought it with it was about 87,000. So if it can live as long as that Alero did, that would be awesome. If it can surpass the Alero, that'd be even better. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video on revisiting the Grand Prix. And I do have a video about the turn signal stock, by the way. It's very poorly put together because I kind of did it at night, half of it at night and half of it in the morning. But I'll put it up at some point on replacing the turn signal stock. So, alright, I'll see you guys later. Thanks for watching.